This conference will now be recorded.
10 guys only, and I hope you are able to see my screen and hear my voice. Can we proceed? Can anyone please confirm?
Yes, Kiran.
Okay, great. Yes. So let's get started again. So firstly, any questions? Any questions that I can take? Yes, I know you have a question. We'll look at that about that particular for each loops out there. So yes, so what was the requirement we had yesterday? So I said that I have something called
Hello.
as an array called names. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Go ahead, Bharat. Go ahead.
Yeah, yesterday class once again repeat once explain the yesterday class once again.
1 second. I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you properly. Can you please come again?
Yesterday class once again repeat.
Yesterday class once again repeat. When you say yesterday's class once again repeat, what exactly is the concept that you're asking for? Because we won't be able to repeat
Actually,
the entire.
yesterday
Yes, we won't be able to repeat the entire class, right? Tell me what is the
no no
exact concept that you have an issue with.
no no no
Hmm.
no no no. Once repeat the yesterday class. Actually, I'm not joining the yesterday class, so that's why I'm
Sir, in
asking.
that case, you'll have to look at the recording. So you have to first look at the recording before
Yeah,
join
sure.
the today's session out there. Okay. So please do that because I won't be able to repeat
Okay,
the
okay,
entire session out there.
okay,
Yes.
sure.
Okay. So let's see. This is what we are discussing yesterday. We said we have something called as an array. And how do we declare an array, guys? How do we declare an array? At the rate?
At the
Is it going
rate
to work?
and brackets.
Open close brackets, empty arrays, inside which I had something like Suresh, Kiran, and Mahesh. And then we said that we have something called locations. Again, this is also an array. Open close parenthesis. Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Pune. Something like this. Now I want statements like my name is Suresh, I belong to Hyderabad. My name is Kiran, I belong to Mumbai. My name is Mahesh, I belong to Pune. And we know that this is an array. So we have to implement some kind of a loop mechanism. Some kind of a some kind of a loop needs to be implemented out here. So I can say for each. So yesterday we said for each, and I'll say dollar value in dollar names. And if we write a simple array, I can say write host. My name is dollar
Value.
value. I'll print it in a foreground color like yellow so that it is visible. And if we execute this out, it's coming out to be my name is Suresh, my name is Kiran, my name is Mahesh. This is what we did till yesterday. But I also want locations also. So I need to say something like I belong to some location from this particular array. Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Pune. So what do we need to do here? If you also need to, let's say, get in locations here.
Dollar locations doesn't work because
Yes, dollar locations doesn't work. If I put a dollar locations here, if I
yeah,
just
for
rerun this once
all
again.
the names you will get Pune.
Exactly. For all the names, you get this one called I belong to Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Pune because dollar locations here just gives you all these three objects at one go. So if you put a dollar location, that doesn't work, which means I also need to iterate over dollar locations. So which means, can I put a for each inside a for each? Because there are two loops. So I would say for each dollar item in dollar
Locations.
locations, and I'll get my statement. So I'll just copy this entire thing
This also doesn't
inside
work.
this particular smaller for each loop out here.
You'll get two
And
times
instead of saying
actually.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I mean, if you put like this, I mean, you'll get a two statements, right? Yeah, for
Two
each.
statements. Let's see that. See dollar item. So, sorry, I said my name is dollar value. I belong to dollar item. Sorry, because dollar item is iterating over this particular loop called locations. But yes, what is the issue with this one?
Cross join.
Yeah, you get
Three
Suresh
times for
Hyderabad.
each and every name.
yeah.
So what is happening right now is this. Instead of getting three statements, I'm getting 3 into 3 statements. It's repeating itself 9 times. But I did not want it to repeat 9 times out here. I only wanted it to repeat, let's say, about sorry, 3 times, right? I just wanted something like these three selective statements is something that I wanted. My name is Suresh, I belong to Hyderabad. My name is Kiran, I belong to Mumbai. My name is Mahesh, I belong to Pune. But why is this even happening in the first place? What are we missing here? Why is our, let's say, loop acting like this? What are we really missing out here? Or what are we really doing wrong out here?
In the nested for each, the second inner for loop, it is repeating for all the values. That's
Yes,
where
inner
we are
for
doing.
loop. Yes, the inner for each loop is repeating for everything again. The inner for each is really repeating itself for anything out here as such, which means this is what is happening. The very first time, sorry, the very first time my loop is getting executed, dollar value is being assigned a value called Suresh. Suresh is the first name out here. And dollar item is coming what?
Hyderabad.
Hyderabad, HYD. So it's printing out a statement telling my name is Suresh. I belong to Hyderabad. But again, this for each loop will not get over until Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Pune is done. That's the condition what I'm giving here. Where I'm telling for each item in this particular locations, in this locations out here, please iterate over it. So what is it doing is that it's telling, okay, fine, wait a second. Before I come back into this for each loop, I also see that there are two more locations that I need to execute. So what it's telling is that it's telling, okay, fine, let me come back here and let me change the value of item from Hyderabad to Mumbai. This value is the same. It's not gone into the parent for each loop at all. This value is the same. So it's telling my name is Suresh. I belong to Mumbai again. For the third time, it's coming to Pune. This value is again same. So three statements for the first name. So now it says okay fine. So now it says okay fine. I'm done. I'll exit the loop. But let me now come back to my parent loop. It's coming here into the parent loop right now. It's coming here into the parent loop right now. And dollar sorry, dollar value is coming out to be what? Kiran. It's sorry, it's going inside. And now it's telling again dollar item is three things. I'll re-execute all those three and I'll say my name is Kiran, I belong to Hyderabad. My name is Kiran, I belong to Mumbai. Then Pune. So it's going ahead and doing that for again the next three times out here as such. Now, sorry. Now for the third time again, it's getting the value to be Mahesh. Same thing is getting repeated. That's the reason you see 3 into 3 9 statements out here that are getting printed out. 3 into 3 9 statements that are getting now printed out here. Do you see the problem right now? Do we understand what is the problem? Do we understand what are we doing here?
Yes.
Is anyone who's not following on what is exactly happening here? Then how do we resolve this? What do we do to resolve this out? Again, it's pure logic.
And
It's pure logic that is happening here. Go ahead, please. Yes. Is someone not following this? Anyone who's not following or something like that? Okay. A for each loop is not best suited for this particular condition. The thing here is that a for each loop is not best suited if you want to iterate over multiple arrays at the same time. Meaning, if you want to iterate over multiple arrays multiple times for each loop, yes, it is satisfied. But if you want to, let's say, iterate over, okay, if you want to iterate over, sorry, if you want to iterate over multiple arrays at the same time, meaning when this is getting iterated, I also want this. When this is getting iterated, I also want this. This is getting iterated, I also want this. Now, again, coming back to our concept yesterday, let us comment out the for each loop for a second. Let's put the for each loop aside for a second. So I'll just go ahead, comment this entire block of code, and let us come down to the concept of indexing we had yesterday. Indexing. What I mean to say by indexing is that each and every array will have its own index position, meaning array 0, 1, and 2. So if dollar names and then 0, if this value comes up, this will give you what? Suresh, because Suresh is at 0. Dollar names 1 will give you what? Kiran. Dollar names 2 will give you Mahesh. In the same way, dollar location 0 will give you what? Dollar locations
Hello.
1, Mumbai, Pune. Meaning if I'm able to map these two things. So if I if I do a statement like something like this, I'll say write host. My name is, and I would like to use my index values. I would say dollar of dollar names 0. My name is something and I belong to dollar of dollar locations 0 with some foreground color out here called yellow.
But you need to write all the statements like that, right?
We
Zero,
need to write
all
all the
combinations.
statements. Yes, we need to write all the statements. That's the issue. We'll see what you can do with that. So let's see first if this logic really satisfies. So I'll just do a CLS. Let's see if this logic really works out. The bare basic logic really works out. If this works out, then yes, we'll see how to automate it out. So if I just execute this, my name is Suresh. I belong to Hyderabad. If I put one more statement here, if I put one more thing here,
Small request, Kiran. In the
good
variable
please.
initialization, can we remove at the rate once? Just wanted to
I'm sorry, can you come?
understand why we are using at the rate.
Good please. Uh, can you come again, please? I didn't get you. Can you come again, please?
Sorry, small request, Kiran. Can we remove the at the rate on the variable installation, array installation? So just wanted to
This one?
understand why we are doing. Yeah, if you remove that and if you run, what will
Yes.
happen and why we are using this at the rate?
Work in the same way. Say names dot get type. It will it will still understand this to be an array only. If you even don't give the other rate, it will still understand this to be an array. But again, it's a best practice to put at the rate to explicitly tell this is an, let's say, an array out there. Because sometimes while your
Okay.
execution, the data type can be changed. If it changes, right, your entire script can break. So if you put
Okay.
an at the rate, it's a best practice to follow out here. Let me put the at the rates and let me come here.
Kiran?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Kiran. Come down, please. Where we wrote the logic. Come down, please. Yeah, here, dollar in bracket, dollar names index, right? Why we have to put
Mhm.
in the dollar in the outside of the bracket? Is there any syntax
Dollar
we
in
have
the
to?
outside of the bracket. Yeah. What if you don't put it? What if you don't put this? What if you just put it like this? What's going to happen?
It prints the
We
name, the
discussed this
same
yesterday,
name.
for me.
No results, sir.
Same name.
Same name. That's all.
So what will happen is
Not the
this.
value of it.
Exactly. So if exactly it won't print the value of it. It won't print the value of your index. Reason being, inside a quote, it's treating this dollar name to be a single variable and this one to be another object. It's expanding everything. That's the reason I'm coming up with this particular approach of having something like a dollar outside here.
Okay.
A dollar outside out here, so that if I just execute this, I get my name is Kiran, I belong to Mumbai. And if I change the index value to 2, my name is Mahesh, I belong to what? Pune. This is what I'm getting. Now, instead of me going ahead and changing this each and every time, because I cannot really do this. If I have, let's say, 100 different names out here, I'll have to, let's say, change it 100 different times, and then I'll have to print out each and every of my statements. I want this to automatically get incremented, meaning initially it started with 0, then I wanted to go to 1, both names and location, then I wanted to go to 2, both names and locations out here as such, for which I will now go ahead introduce another looping concept called for loop. For loop. Let's understand what firstly a for loop really is, and secondly, how do I implement this particular for loop to this particular statement. So let's see that. So again, for each loop the syntax was something like this, right? Just for each, open close parenthesis, and then open close curve brackets. Same thing applies to for loop also. For open close parenthesis, open close flower brackets, and in here I'll have to define the condition, and the condition of for loop is something like this. Let's say for $I, I'm just taking some random variable called $I. I'll say $I is equal to 0. Start with a value called 0, which means if I execute this out and if I say what is the value of $I, it will be what? 0 out here. And I will say that until $I is less than or greater than or equal to something like that. For example, if I want to do a less than, I cannot do a direct less than out here. In PowerShell, this won't work. What I can do instead, I can say hyphen LT less than hyphen GT will become greater than hyphen LE will become less than or equal to hyphen GE will become greater than or equal to hyphen EQ equal to hyphen NE not equal to operators in PowerShell, comparison operators in PowerShell out here. So what I'll do is I'll say less than, I'll give a number called 3. I'm saying start the value of I at 0 and until I is less than 3, go ahead and write the value of I. I'll say $I. I'll say very simple. I'll say write host value of I is something like this. What I'm doing is I'm giving a condition telling please take the value of I as 0 and until I is less than 3, please go ahead into the loop and print this particular statement out. Let me give it a color here, some random color, and let's execute this out. What is happening right now? Condition is getting satisfied again and again. If the condition wouldn't have been satisfied, it will not even execute this. Condition is getting satisfied again and again. I value is 0, 0, 0, 0, etc. This is called as an infinite loop. The loop will continue. If I leave this, it will continue for the whole day. The reason being, again, if you want to stop, just click on this button called break. The reason being, see, I've told what is I is equal to 0. I said I is equal to 0. I said I is less than 3. I'm not adding the value of I, or I'm not incrementing the value of I. So I value will always be 0. If I want to break this, what I'll do is that I'll say an enter. After writing a condition, I'll say $I plus plus. This is another way of writing $I is equal to I plus 1.
We can also write like I equal to I plus 1.
Yes,
Like
you
that.
can also do I is equal to I plus 1. You can also do it shorter form I plus plus.
I plus. Okay.
So now I'm telling that yes, start the value of I at 0. Start the value of I at what? 0.
Print
And
I.
if this condition is satisfied, I is less than 3, go into this, go into this loop and write the value of I as what? I is equal to 0. First time it will be 0. After that, what?
Increment to 1.
Say 0 plus 1 will become what? 1. Now value of I will become what? 1. Now come back here. 1 is less than 3. Yes, satisfied. Go ahead, print the value of I. After that, do 1 plus 1 becomes what? 2. 2 is less than 3. Satisfied. Executed. Then 2 plus 1, 3. 3 is less than 3. Yes. No.
No.
3 is definitely less than or equal to 3. It's not less than 3. The condition won't satisfy. So in this case, if I execute this out, value of I is what? 0, 1, 2. The condition did not get satisfied at the third time. So if you now see value of I here, see if you print the value of I, you see what is the value of I, 3. So at 3, it broke the loop. At 3, it said, you know what, I is not satisfied. So I'll just break this out. So if you just print this in-memory value, it's coming as 3. 3 is not equal to 3, or 3 is not less than 3. So it went ahead and said, okay, fine, you know what, I'll break this out. If you say less than or equal to and run this out, what do you think will happen? What do you think will be the difference?
0, 1, 2, 3.
2, 3.
Please
0, 1,
enter.
2, 3. 3 should also get printed. Reason being 3 is less than 3. Sorry, 3 is less than or equal to 3. Condition satisfied. Yes. Now if you see value of I, what do you think will be the value of I right now?
It will be
3.
4.
It will be 4. Exactly. Reason being, it incremented it for the 4th time, or for the 5th time it incremented it out. It checked whether 4 is less than or equal to 3. Not satisfied. Condition did not get satisfied. Loop broke. This is how the for loop really works out here as such. Now let's do one thing. Let's play around with the for loop for a second and let's see this. Now I'll say I is equal to 0. And one thing that you can do, guys, is that this I plus plus, right? You can also shift it here. Works in the same way. You can keep it at the end of your loop, shift it there. The reason we ask to shift here is because, see, this is one single statement. It's easier for me to identify where the increment is happening. But sometimes what happens is that in your for loop, right, you'll be executing thousands of lines of code. In that case, even if you miss the position of I++, your entire loop will kind of break. That's the reason we just place it in the starting. So either you place it here or you place it in the starting. I'm good with it. Same syntax, same conditions out here. So it will still work the same way. It will still work the same way out here. Let me do one thing. Let me change this condition. I is equal to 0. I is greater than 3. I plus plus. What do you think will happen here? Infinity. It will go into an infinite loop. Yes. Will it go into an infinite loop here?
No, I mean 0 is not greater than 3.
0 is not greater than 3. Then I am asking it to execute here.
So
Sorry.
No value. No value is
It is
there.
not satisfied at all. The
yeah,
condition
it
is
will
not
come out.
satisfied at all. Which it will come out. Very simple. So if I just execute this out, It's not printing anything at all, which means it did not even go inside this loop. So I'll do one thing. I'll put a write for statement outside the loop. I'll say outside loop. This will help me understand where my, let's say, execution is happening. So if I just go ahead and execute this out, what is happening? Do you see? It's just coming out outside the loop, meaning it did not even go inside the loop even for one time. Why did it not go? Because this condition will never be satisfied. I
So
is equal to
if you
0,
put
and I'm saying, go ahead, please.
so if you put in the outside the statement $I, it will be 0, right?
Mhm. It'll be 0, exactly. So if you want to print this out, because I never got incremented. The reason I
But
never got incremented is because I never
infinite.
even went inside the loop at all. The loop or the iteration never really happened out here. It broke in the very first thing, telling that okay, fine, I is, let's say, greater than 3. It not even go in here as such. But what if I say I value
Hello,
I'm
sir.
starting with 0? Good, please.
Sir, you incremented I also, sir.
Can you come?
Dollar plus.
Can you come again, please?
Sir, you incremented I also. For example, 0 is not greater than 3. 1
Correct.
is not greater than 2 is not greater than 3.
It won't
3
even go
is
to
not
1.
greater
No. The thing here is that it won't even go to 1. Forget about it. Reason being, it will only get incremented if it comes inside the loop.
It will not get enter into the loop.
It will not even. It's not even entering into the loop. So it won't even increment the value of I at all. So no matter how many times I execute this particular statement, the value of I will be same as 0 only. It's not even getting incremented one time. Not even one time it's getting incremented out here. Not even one time your value of I is getting incremented. That's the reason your I value is always getting stuck at 0. This condition is never getting satisfied. So your loop
Okay,
won't even
okay,
go
sir.
forward. Got it?
Okay, sir.
So
Okay,
in a
okay.
simple English, I'm telling, if I is greater than 3, only then execute it. I is 0, so it won't execute it out here. So if this I++ is confusing you here, you can keep it here, not a problem. But please make sure that you're keeping it at the end of the loop so that the increment is happening every time. So now I'm telling what will happen if I say I started I is equal to 0. What if I say I is equal to 10? What if I now say that I is equal to 10 right now?
Loop is not initiated because the
The
I
loop is
value
not
starts
initiated
with
because I value is
condition
what? Sorry,
itself.
So that is infinite loop again.
it's an infinite loop. Condition will
Sonic.
always be satisfied. Condition will always be satisfied. The condition started with the satisfaction out here. So if I just execute this out,
Yes.
it's an infinite loop because very first thing it said 10 is greater than 3. I'll execute it out. After that, went into 11. 11 is greater than 3, execute it out. 12 is greater than 3, execute out. So this is now an infinite loop out here as such. Let's say that this is what I want. Let's say that I want an infinite loop, but I want to make sure that this loop gets broken if the value is 1000. If I value is 1000, meaning I want to print numbers from 10 to 1000 and I want to break the loop out here. Greater than or equal to
So
1000, you can do that. You can say
yeah,
greater than or equal to 1000.
or
Yes,
equal to
sorry,
$1001.
less than or equal to 1000, or yes, equal to 1000, or let's say less than 1001 out there. That's something that you can do. But let's say I don't want to change this condition. I don't want to really change this condition out here. Let me get this I++ here.
But you still want to break it.
Yes, I still want to break it.
So
I
is
don't
there a
want to, let's say, write
break
yes,
command?
there is a break command. There is something called break, which means that what I'll do right now is that I'll say if. I'll open up an if statement. If again the syntax is the same. If the condition and the statement. Now I'm saying if I is equal to 1000. value is equal to 1000, please go ahead and break this loop out. Please go ahead and say break this out. Mhm.
So there are no semicolons, right, for each executable statements.
There are, I mean, you can put a semicolon out here, not a problem, but you don't have to put a semicolon.
Okay.
It'll just go from one line to the other, line by line execution out here.
So just one basic question: is it an interpreter or a compiler? Basically,
It's a
PowerShell.
compiler. It's a compiler.
Okay.
So I had I is equal to 10, I is greater than or equal to 3, I plus plus, and I'm now telling the value of I is something. And if I value is equal to 1000, and yes, your question is that instead of, let's say, equal to, can I put just like this? You can put it. You can put it. But again, not a best practice. Not a best practice. It's
No, it
better
should
to
be.
come with.
It should be
Good,
double
please.
equal to, right? I mean, it is not single. It is assignment, right? If you put any
Yes, it's an assignment. It's a double equal to. Yes, it's a double equal to. But that's the reason we just don't use that at all. Sometimes, your program can break. So best practice, if you follow the operators, it's a better practice to go with. So now if I execute this, right, so it will go all the way up to 1000. After 1000, the loop automatically got stopped. Reason being, the condition got satisfied and the loop got broke. That's how I can break my loops. So I can put a break, I can exit my loop, meaning I can exit the entire terminal. You can also do the exit out there. So you can do a couple of things out here as such.
Do we have continue also, Kiran?
Yes, we have continue also. Yes.
Okay.
So again, it follows most of the programmatical syntaxes only. Like, if you understand the program or if you understand, let's say, how one particular programming language works, it's actually very easier to, just apply that to, let's say, another syntax out there. So it's just the syntax difference, just a little bit of differences out there, but the logic remains the same. The logic, the underlying logic remains the same out here as such.
The most
Hello, sir.
confusion part is every variable starts with a dollar. So,
Exactly. Every variable, yes, starts with a
so
dollar. True.
basically dollar is an interpolation, right? So it has to give the
Yes,
value.
that's correct.
Sir,
Yes, go ahead, please.
sir, in the syntax, if condition is uh, uh, up to right host.
If condition is up to right host. Okay. If condition is above the right host, this is what you mean.
Ah, yes, yes, sir, yes, sir.
If condition is above the right host, let's see what will happen here. It broke at what? 999. Reason being, your if condition is placed above the right host. So it's telling, okay, fine. If I is equal to 1000, when this came in, it said I'll break here. I won't even write this. And then it finally went ahead and it wrote the outside loop condition of this. That's it. So if the if condition is above, let's say, your right host, you'll only get values until 999. You won't get a value until 100. Oh, sorry, until 1000. Does that answer your question, Trina?
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes, any more questions, guys?
Sir,
Good, please.
in yesterday class, get unexecuted. Please tell me once again. Get what is used to un
I didn't get you. I didn't get your question. Can you come again, please? I'm sorry, I didn't get your question on what exactly that you asked.
unrestricted, sir. In
I'm
yesterday
sorry.
class, unrestricted, sir. Just get a hyphen unrestricted.
Okay. You want
What
the
is
execution
used?
policy. Okay. How to execute that?
Yes,
So it
sir.
is
What is,
get hyphen execution policy. So it's firstly get hyphen
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
execution
What
policy.
is
Sorry.
uh, what is used for execution policy?
What is it used for execution
I
policy?
don't.
Firstly, execution policy controls what kind of a scripts that you can execute on your PowerShell terminal. So whether you can execute all the scripts or whether you can just go ahead and, let's say, execute some restricted scripts and etc. And in my case, if I do look at, let's say, the execution policy in my terminal, get hyphen execution policy unrestricted, which means that let's say I'm free to go ahead and execute anything out there. If you want to change it in your terminal, say set hyphen execution policy hyphen execution policy and change it to, let's say, something like unrestricted, again in an administrative mode. In a normal mode, it will just simply throw the error. It'll simply throw the error. In administrative mode, it will go ahead and do this.
Sir, this is controlling to the user also. The administration.
Yes, yes.
Controlling to the. Okay.
So now I know what is for loop. I know that if I put some condition inside for loop, that will get printed out here. Now what I want to do is that I want to apply this for loop to this particular loops. I want to go ahead and, let's say, apply this out. So I'll say for, we'll start with a condition called I is equal to 0. I'll say I is less than 3. I'll say I plus plus. And what I'll do is I'll get this statement inside the loop. I'll get this statement inside the loop. And instead of telling 0, I'll say $i. 0 here. I'll say $i. Which means that the $i value will go to 0, 1 and 2. And my loop also has 0, 1 and 2. And now if I execute this out, this is what I wanted to print out in the first place. And this is what is getting printed in the first place out here. So this is the theory of for loop. And this is the application of for loop out here. Going further, what I want to do with this is that I just don't want to go ahead and print the names out here. What I want to do is that, yes, I want to have two loops, but the first loop called names will represent the name of the resource groups that I have in Azure portal. The second location will have locations of the resource groups in the Azure portal, like East US to North Europe, West US, something like that. Instead of telling my name is something, I'll say RG name is something, location is this, and I want to create it there. I want to create it with that particular mapping. This is what I want to slide into. So this is the application of what a for loop is. And in the further classes, we'll see how to apply it on an Azure portal. How do I use this particular, let's say, loops on the Azure portal out here as such? That's where I want to get into.
So here the variable I, did you change the variable I from variable names to print the values? Did you change that? How it is printing?
I just changed the index values. I just changed the index values out here.
Right.
So
I mean, okay.
Yes.
Okay, you change names and locations. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Names and
Got
locations, I put it something like $i out here.
Got it.
Instead of telling 0, I'm indexing using that particular I value.
Okay.
Now let's do one thing. Let's put one more name here. Let's say something like Z. And let's put a location like ABC. Is it an ABC right now? Now if I execute this out. So firstly, let me save it to the memory. Now if I execute this out, I should also get the XYZ and ABC.
No, you will
No,
not.
sir. No, sir.
No, because it's less than 3.
You should increase
Which means
the
every time, exactly, which means every time this, let's say, loop is getting incremented, I also need to come here and increment the value, say 4 or equal to 3, something like that, which again makes my loops very static in nature, very human intervention in nature out here. So instead of doing this, instead of giving a static number, I'll say less than $names dot count. Or
length is also there. Okay.
Length is also there. So count dot length and count dot name. Array dot count, array dot length. Again, this array dot length and array dot count. Let's see. Length is 4. Count here. Let's go ahead and do this. It's 4. Literally the same function of there as such. So count or length, this satisfies out. Now if I go ahead, execute this out, it's not dependent upon the number, but rather it's dependent upon, let's say, the array out there as such. In a real time, what will really happen is this. We don't really write this out. We don't really write the loops out there. For example, your client comes into picture and says, you know what, I have a text document, or I have a JSON file, I have an Excel file, which contains all the names of the resource groups. Can you read all those names and let's say create, let's say, the arrays and then go ahead and execute the loop out there? That's the reason we start this with a blank array and we inject it into the array. We inject names into the array. We'll see all those things out there as such.
You mean
Even one
runtime?
small,
Good. Sorry.
even
Is
one
it
small.
runtime you are saying? Sorry.
Sorry. Yes. One question at a time, please.
No, I'm saying you said injecting into the array. Is it a runtime giving the values? Is that what you're
Yes. On the runtime giving the values. Yes. We'll talk about that in the runtime. How do you pass the values and all these things out?
saying? All right, okay.
Yes. Location may be different. Again, I am giving an ideal scenario where the count of names and location is the same. Reason being, if you want to create a resource group, you need a location. So you have to define a location. So that's the reason I'm making sure both of my arrays are going parallelly. It's parallel. Yeah.
Even if you remove the ABC, what will happen? The last record
Just a second.
won't populate the
I'm
location.
sorry. I'm sorry. Can
Even
you
if
come again,
you
please?
even if you remove the ABC for the locations, the last record,
Okay.
what will happen? My name is XYZ and it won't populate the location, right?
Exactly. It won't populate the location for you. In this case, same question that
Yeah.
you had. In this
Because there
case,
is no value for that
if I just go
variable.
ahead and execute this,
So that is null.
so here you have a null value.
Null.
It's a null value
Right.
that comes out picture out there. You can give a default. Again, you have to print it inside the array out there as such.
If
This
you
works
want to
again
give
best.
it default, right?
Good,
If
please.
you want to give a default, then we need to write a if statement here. If there is no value of any of the index, then no default value
Exactly.
pass it.
Then the default value, you'll have to pass something. So
Pass it.
yes, if there is nothing there, then you'll have to pass a default value. Mhm. Again, you'll have to give an if condition there. So if you want to change anything here, you'll have to approach it with an if condition, telling that if this name is equal to something, or if this location is equal to something, take that location. Yes. Any more questions, guys?
Hello, sir. Please apply, sir. Apply this code.
Please apply this code. When you say apply, what exactly you want me to do? Do you want me to execute this out?
ఎస్ సార్ ఎస్ అంటే అది కాదు సార్ ఏబిసి రిమూవ్ చేసి మీరు చేశారు కదా సార్ చివరిది
Mm-hmm.
అది
Sir, if I
మీరు
remove
నన్
ABC, yes.
నన్ వాల్యూ మై నేమ్ ఈజ్ XYZ ఐ బిలాంగ్స్ టు నన్ను వచ్చింది కదా ఆ కాలం అదే ఆ రో తీసేయాలి సార్ అట్లాగా ఆ రో పోవాలి
Okay, you
అట్లా
want to
రాకూడదు
take the entire. Okay, you want to take the entire row out? Then yes,
ఎస్
you can
సార్
do that with an if statement. I'll say this statement should only print if. I'll say if dollar locations $I is not equal to dollar null. If this is a null value, then don't print it. So if I now get my statements here, this is what I said. If location I is not equal to null, so if ABC is not here, and if it's not equal to null there, so if I now go ahead and execute this out, so first I'll come into the memory, then come back, execute this out here. Getting this?
You can't clear the memory every time. Is there any function like that?
No, it's like since I'm not executing this out, let's say every time I'm coming, let's say with a part by part execution. That's the reason I'm clearing the memory going explicitly out there.
Right. I mean, is there a function to write in the beginning itself, clear every time the memory?
No, you don't have to. Like every time it will clear the memory and then it will run this out, the default execution. You don't really have to clear the memory explicitly.
Kiran, here you commented some part of the program, right? Why
Yes.
it's coming in the output every time?
Where do you see it
That's
coming in the output? Where do you see that coming into the output here? Do you see
yesterday
that?
also. Yesterday also I get the same
Mhm.
thing
Yes, sir,
on my
but
screen.
it depends upon how you're executing it out. It depends really on how you're
Okay.
executing. If you save this and execute, for example, let's say that this is for loop .ps1 file. So if I save this and execute this out, so let's say I'll save this, and now let's say I do a CLS and then execute this out. Let me clear this out. Do I get that? Nothing.
No.
But if you go
Okay.
ahead and run the selection, that's where you'll get this. Reason being, you're asking PowerShell to go ahead and print everything out there. So it depends on how you're executing it. That matters.
Okay.
Kiran,
Go please.
yeah. If we have more names and less locations, then what
Mhm.
will be the case?
Then
Like
if you have more
suppose,
names in list, yes, go ahead please. Mhm.
yeah, suppose less location, like only two locations and there four names is there.
Okay. Okay.
But
Then you
then
will
how
have
it
to
will
make sure, yes, then you will have to make sure to come up with a logic in such a way that that the location gets repeated again and again. You will have to come up with such a kind of logic where you have to say that if it's okay to, let's say, have Kiran Hyderabad, Mahesh Mumbai, and then let's say something like another name with Hyderabad and Mumbai. So you can come up with an own logic out there to repeat this out. Again, there are infinite possibilities out here. You can come up with any kind of a probability and combination in this particular looping concepts.
okay.
Yes, any more questions, guys? Now we will have a class tomorrow also. So tomorrow and day after we'll continue with the automation, so that from Monday we can start with the theory. And again in the next weekend, again we'll do the automation out here. So the automation will, let's say, be repeated, and in the regular sessions I'll give you all assignments on what exactly that I need from the automation out here. We can try the assignments, we can discuss it over the weekend out there. Now before coming to tomorrow's session, just go through the theory of what is a hash table in PowerShell. So we saw something called a string, something called array. Now I want you all to see what is a hash table. Just go to the Microsoft documentation. It's telling what is the array. So before I jump into hash table, I'll say what is an array. And after that, it's telling what is a hash table. How do we go ahead and deal with a hash table out here? So please look at this one, telling me what is a hash table, how do you deal with a hash table. And anyways, we'll see this, and it's telling how do you iterate over the hash table and etc. Very good documentation. Key value pairs, exactly. Key value pairs, if you want to map it properly, key value pairs out there. So we'll see what a hash table really is and how do you use a hash table and etc.
Is it kind of a NoSQL, right? I think key value.
I'm sorry.
NoSQL database. I mean, like key value pairs.
Again, I'm not really getting the database out here. It's a data type. It's a data type out here as such.
But Kiran, are we starting at 7 a.m. tomorrow?
Yes, we will do a 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, great.
So we'll do 7 to
2 hours.
8:30 or 9.
2 hours,
8:30 or 9,
right?
like 1.5 or 2 hours. Depends upon,
Okay.
I mean, I'm completely flexible. That half an hour depends upon whether we have more questions to address or whether we don't. Depending upon that, that number can be variable.
Sure.
So not more than 2 hours again. Yes.
Kiran, small request, Kiran.
Good, please.
Do you have any material for this PowerShell, like from basics? It
Yes,
will help
yes,
us,
I
right?
was, yes, I was about to address that. So the thing here is that again, see, PowerShell has a lot of documentations, but it is really difficult to go ahead and, let's say, read every documentation out there. It's very difficult out there. So I can suggest you a YouTube channel which explains the basics of PowerShell, which is, it's like, you know, good. Let's say YouTube channel out here. Let's see that. YouTube channel called Jack Programmer. Let's see if I get the name right. So there is this particular YouTube channel called Jack Programmer out here, and in the playlist, right, you have PowerShell for beginners or PowerShell fundamental tutorials, beginner PowerShell tutorial out here. If you look at this particular playlist, PowerShell fundamentals, variables, array list, hash tables, pipelines, if-else statements, and all these things. So this will help you cover a basic, let's say, or give you a very basic of PowerShell. This just follow this particular link, and my request is that I'm just sending it across here. Please send it across in the group so that people coming offline can also take the advantage of this one. So you can look at this particular link, and there are also intermediate, let's say, PowerShell out there. You have, let's say, multiple things out here: SQL tutorial, intermediate PowerShell, Active Directory, a lot of things out here as such. So you can have a look at this and let me know if you have a question here. Yes. Anyone? Any more questions, guys?
Hello, sir.
I'm sorry.
Sir, in the please open the script, sir. PowerShell script.
Okay.
We have here we have three names, three locations, right, sir?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to execute Suresh belongs to Mumbai, how can we write the script, sir?
If you want to do that again, it's very important to understand that this for loop works best to iterate both of them parallelly. If you want to say Suresh belongs to Mumbai, then you will have to, let's say, come up with a hash table, key value pairs. It's very important to define what my data source is. Using this data source, I'm just mapping things out. But if you want to do something else or something, let's say, in a different, in a custom way, you'll have to come up and create your own hash tables out here as such. So look at that. We'll see how a hash table really forms out and what can you do with a hash table and so on and so forth. All right. Thank you guys and have a good day ahead. And we'll meet tomorrow and discuss on this. Thank you.